Welcome to the Legacy Podcast, making our Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) more famous for action. Imagine you're trying to unlock a high security vault that contains the future of our planet. Inside are the solutions to hunger, clean energy, peace, like we have talked about in the other legacy. This vault has 17 buttons on the keypad. You can press the first 16 all day, but if you don't press the 17th button or the 17th code, the door stays locked. Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goals, is the enter key. It is the realization that no country, no company, and no person can solve these massive problems alone. It is the goal that turns the 16 individual goals or ideas into one global reality. I am your host, UnitedNationsMama, and I'm so glad you are here. Today's legacy will be to talk about the 17th Sustainable Development Goal, the Partnerships for the Goals goal, for you to grab your knowledge, discover your role, and do your action. If the other goals are the Iceland of a better world, one for education, one for the ocean, one for the climate, then Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goal, is a system of bridges that connects them all. Without the bridges, the islands are just isolated dreams. Partnerships are the infrastructure of progress. It's about moving technology, money, and knowledge from where it is to where it is needed most. Sustainable Development Goal 17 is the proof that we are not 293 separate countries. We are one crew on one ship. Just imagine, or let's say in a situation like sports, you can have the football sports, you can have the greatest striker in the world, but if the midfield won't pass or the midfielder won't pass the ball and the goalkeeper is not watching the net, you will lose the game. Sustainable development is the ultimate global team sport. Then our SDG 17 is our playbook for how we can work together. It's about realizing that winning only counts if the whole team crosses the finish line. It is a shift from competing for resources to collaborating for survival. So you have to think of our Sustainable Development Goal also as a global translator. See, we live in a world where different industries and countries often speak different languages. The language of profit, the language of survival, the language of science, the language of technology for different countries or nations. These are Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goals. This goal is about creating a common dialect. It's about sharing the data and technology so that a farmer in one part of the world can use the satellite data from another part of the world. It's the goal that ensures we are all reading from the same map as we navigate the 21st century. There is also a simple math to the SDGs. When we work alone, the progress is addition, one step at a time. Very slow. But when we partner, when a government works with a business works with a local community, the progress becomes multiplication. What our Sustainable Development Goal 17 has is, you can call it the multiplier effect. It's the belief that your small action combined with my resources and their technology can create a wave of change that none of us could have started on our own. Did you get this last statement? what Sustainable Development Goal 17 has is a multiplier effect. It's a belief that your small action or someone else's small action there somewhere combined with another person's resource, technology, or knowledge can create a wave of change that neither of you would have started or even finished on your own. So we have to move past the era of competition into the era of radical collaboration, realizing that a climate solution in one country is useless if the technology is not shared with another nation. So, our Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goal, is our master key that unlocks all other 16 goals, as you have heard in TLP legacies. Think of Partnerships for the Goal not as a boring meeting between politicians, but as a global operating system that connects all other goals. Localizing our Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goal, is a common sense of realizing that a developing nation might have the best plan for solar energy or this or that, but they need investment from a wealthier partner, a wealthier enterprise, a wealthier nation, or even a wealthier private individual or organization to build it. Is the common sense of realizing also in another aspect that if a scientist, let me say for example in the nation where I was born in Nigeria, finds a way to grow drought resistant crops, that knowledge needs to be shared instantly with a farmer in Brazil or US or the UK. We can't fix what we can't measure. We need a shared global dashboard so that everyone knows exactly how much. For example, if we are talking about in the aspect of climate change, everyone knows how much carbon we are emitting, or even how many children are out of school. Everyone has a global data or a statistics of what is happening around the world or even in their own nation or in another nation, so that they can know how to help, how to position their passions, their startup or their foundation or whatever, so that it will help both their nation and help other nations around the world. If we don't have this global data or dashboard whereby we can see so many surface or what exactly is happening around the world, most people may not even know where to start from or what to even do. We see most of this in the informations, whether they are local informations or international news. That's where someone gets the idea to, oh, why don't I start this from my nation, then see how it gets to Thailand, or see how it gets to UK, or see how it gets to US, and stuff like that. Sometimes it feels like international relations is something that happens far away, but really it's about teamwork. It's a shift from being a competitor trying to win alone to being a teammate who knows that we either all win together or we all lose together. When the United Nations created these goals and added Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goal, they are saying, we are not saying that we, the nation leaders, or we, the United Nations, can do this all by ourselves. If they can, they would have stopped at Goal 16, or they would have made it clear that these goals are not for individuals to practice, are not for local enterprises or individuals or businesses to practice. They would have made it clear. But instead of making something like this clear or obvious, they chose the path of saying that we need everybody hands on decks to make this goal happen. All these goals happen by 2030. The zero hunger, the climate action, the sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and on production, quality education, industry innovation, and infrastructure, as you have heard from all other of TLP legacies. So we have to move from charity to, or just charity, to co-investment or co-partnerships, realizing that the challenges of this century are too big for one hero. They require a global team, a global crew, and that is you hearing TLP legacy today, partnerships for the goal, and someone else out there, a business out there, an organization out there, all of us together in one boat, solving this massive global target. So let's move ahead to the official targets created by the United Nations, breaking down the UN actions or their intentions of why they created the partnerships for the goals goal to help solve your action priorities towards the SDGs 17. You must understand what the UN actually mean when they created this goal or by this goal. Target 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3 are all together in one word, the financial pillars. Target 7.1 is about mobilizing domestic resources, helping countries improve their own tax collection so that they can fund their own development. Target 17.2 is about implementing development assistance, ensuring wealthy nations meet their commitment to provide some percentage of aid to other developing nations. Target 17.3 is about mobilizing additional financial resources, that is finding new ways to move private money to sustainable projects. Target 17.6 is talking about knowledge sharing, enhancing the North-South and the South-South cooperation of science and technology and every other area. Target 17.7 is about promoting sustainable technologies, encouraging the transfer of green tech to developing countries on very favorable terms. You cannot be transferring your knowledge or your invention to another nation on a very high price or terms and conditions. You are not helping them in any way. You are trying to exploit them actually. Target 17.8 is about capacity building for tech, making sure everyone has access to this digital revolution that we are in. Let me say, for example, the AI. You can't say a school student somewhere or someone who has a digital phone or mobile cannot access artificial intelligence. So, we have to make it literally impossible, unless on restriction terms or age. Target 17.10 is about the universal trading system, promoting fair rules-based promoting a fair rules-based world trading system under the World Trade Organization (WTO). Target 17.13 is about global microeconomic stability, ensuring the world economy stays stable so poor countries aren't wiped out by crashes. And Target 17.8 is about enhancing availability of reliable data, making sure we have high quality, timely data to track our progresses around the world. You can research the other targets of the UN for partnerships for the goals on the official SDGs website. Let's take the case studies for the partnerships for the goal, Sustainable Development Goal 17. We have two case studies for this goal. Case study 1. the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. The problem: for decades it was often easier and cheaper for an African country to trade with Europe or China than with its own neighbor country. Imagine a neighboring country finding it hard to trade with own nation or country. This fragmented system kept the continent's economy small and dependent on outsiders. The African Continental Free Trade Area (AfCFTA) is a landmark agreement creating the world's largest free trade area by participating countries covering 54 to 55 African Union nations. Initiated in 2018 and started its operations in 2021. It aimed to unite a market of over 1.4 billion people, boosting an inter-African trade through duty elimination, reduced border red tape, and increased industrialization. The significance or the purpose for its creation, as you have heard, but specifically is to increase inter-African trade by over 50%, with the potential to lift about 30 million people out of extreme poverty by 2035. What was the solution? The solution is the creation of this largest African trade area, with a good number of African nations being participants. To solve that problem of African nations finding it more easy to trade with other countries instead of their own neighboring or African nation. What was the result? Okay, some of the actions that they actually initiated or did was countries agreed to scrape 90% of tariffs or taxes on goods traded between them. Also, partners were working together to build a great green corridors like the railways and digital networks that connected the continent's market. The result was economic growth. It is projected to lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty by 2035, and also resilience. By trading with each other, African nations are less vulnerable to global price shocks from overseas or international nations. What is the lesson for you to take? Partnership is the ultimate force multiplier. When you stop competing for crumbs and start baking the bread together, everyone eats. We should stop the competition mentality and start collaborating, start partnering, and see how the changes cannot even be compared or second to none. The second case study for the Sustainable Development Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goal, is what is called the COVAX and the Digital Green Certificate. COVAX and the Digital Green Certificate represent two distinct global responses to the COVID-19 pandemic. COVAX focused on equitable vaccine access, while the Digital Green Certificate, which is now called the European Union Digital COVID Certificate, it was a tool designed to facilitate safe free movement within the EU by proving vaccinations, testings, or recovery status of the individual. The goal of this COVAX and the Digital Green Certificate was to ensure access to COVID-19 vaccines for all countries regardless of income level. The mechanism was that procurement and distributions of vaccines to low and middle income nations. So while COVAX aims to provide the tools for protection, digital green certificates serve as a mechanism for using that protection to resume travel and daily activities, specifically within Europe. You could say in general that the problem was that during a global crisis like COVID-19 pandemic, wealthy nations um, tend to hoard resources, leaving other nations to wait for the leftovers. This me first approach actually makes the problem last longer for everyone. So instead of this happening again during the COVID-19 pandemic, a solution was initiated, that's the COVAX and the digital green certificate. There was a global partnership between governments, non-governmental organizations, and private companies. Countries pooled their money to negotiate lower prices for life-saving technologies. So instead of just sending products, partners share the recipes, the manufacturing processes, and all that. So local factories in Africa and Asia could also produce their own supplies. The result was that millions of lives were saved in regions that otherwise would have been the last in line. By building local factories, these regions also are now prepared for the next crisis without needing charity. What is the lesson for you to take? We are only as strong as the most vulnerable link in our global chain. Partnerships are not charity, they are our global insurance. So you should know the difference between partnership, collaboration, and the work of charity. In this generation now, on this 21st century, we don't just need charity or just a nation helping another nation, a private individual helping another private individual out of pity or whatsoever. We need a joint. What are the skills you have? What are the talents? What are the uniqueness of your company or cooperative? Okay, these are mine. These are the uniqueness of my country. This is where we have been. Company. This is where we have been. This is where we are. This is where we want to go. So by the time this we are brought on the table, we can negotiate, partner, know where one can hold the other, and we move together. Hear this, you have to realize that our sustainable development is not a solo sport, it is a symphony. You don't have to play every instrument, you just have to play your part in tune with everyone else. Don't be alone doing all by yourself. There's something somewhere to hold hands together with something or someone to reach there. And of course, holding hands together with every other global goal advocate or person or organization taking action in line, especially in line with your own field or the goal you have chosen. Partnership is an ultimate act of maturity. It is our decision to stop trying to be the master of the world and start being a member of it. We are more than 8 billion people sharing a single small blue boat. We have no backup boat and we have no backup crew. We have to hold hands and make sure that our boat reaches on the Iceland. Moving on ahead to the actions you can take, both household habits and professional actions or habits towards our partnerships for the goals, sustainable development goal. Look at your favorite non-governmental organization, check if they are partnering with a small group in another country or with another NGO. If not, you can research more globally and see um, an organization that can match for them for partnership. Share your skill. Join a platform like the United Nations Volunteer to give your professional skills, whether marketing, accounting, tech, to a project in a developing nation or country. Or if you know anywhere else to share your skill, please do in any way you can. Buy one fair trade product this week. This is a direct partnership between you and the farmer. Yes, if you use or create software, choose open source licenses. This allows anyone, anywhere to build on your work for free or to use your what you develop and not be restricted to a particular nation or country. Participate in citizen science projects. Your local observations help global scientists track biodiversity. Don't say that thing that you have noticed in your community or your village or your nation. Just maybe it could even be natural observations of any sort. Don't discard it. Attend science open science projects to lay out your opinion or your observations. All those things are taken note of and they are usually researched on. You can also donate your old working laptop to a group that refurbish them for students in underconnected areas. You can have a mobile phone, a laptop, you think maybe the rest of the world has it. No, a very good percentage of the world still living in the dark without this technology that you are enjoying in your room or your workplace daily. So the very least you can do is to donate your old products to people that actually need it. Or even for example, a student just entering college or school that the parents cannot provide one for. Also, you can start to learn exactly how much of your country's budget goes to aid. It's usually much less than people think. Yes, you can start to learn it and also see where you can come in or advocate for more to be used as aids in every area of human influence, whether food production, technology, housing and clothing and so on, even electricity. Now, if you send money abroad to family, use services that have the lowest fees. High fees steals billions from developing economies, exploitations and so on. Use platforms like Zoom or WhatsApp to have some mini chat with someone in a different country. You guys can talk about your daily challenges or the country at large and exchange views and so on. Or you can also turn it into a conference or a seminar, a global dialogue, so to say. Add our sustainable development goal to one of your social medias, maybe display picture or icons or image on your email to spark partnership conversations with people you contact. You see, once someone sees the SDGs icon, whether the one that you are representing, specifically whether climate action, quality education, responsible consumption and production and so on, if someone sees something like that on your profile, on your DP, they will know that, oh, this person has the knowledge that I need, or they are in the position that we can work together. Yes, you attract certain kind of people, associations or companies. In all these ways, you are directly or indirectly trying to partner instead of just on your own, isolating yourself with zero networking or collaborations or partnerships and so on. If you're a student or a researcher, publish your findings in open access journals, that allow literally everyone around the world to access their papers. So a peer in a low-income country or in another nation can read them for free. Sign petitions asking for the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank to cancel the debts of countries hit by climate disasters in exchange for nature protection or whatever else. You can host a dinner where people of different backgrounds discuss a shared community problem, trying to create an atmosphere of social peace is the first step to partnership, not a disorganized community or social atmosphere. Nothing can work in that kind of place because everyone is bent on their opinion and has something against another, and it just ends up in quarrel or disaster. You can also start to pressure your favorite tech company to join a patent pool where they share environmental tech with some other countries or nations for free. All these tech conferences should not always be high fees and high attendees with very high profiles. It should also be made available for people in the average or lower areas. Ask your local representative, what is our country doing to stop multinational corporations from using tax to avoid paying their fair share? Tax havens. If you research on what this means exactly. What is your country doing to stop all these multinational corporations from using tax havens to avoid paying their own fair share? That you are trying to seek tax justice in this aspect. Support public-private startups or enterprises. Invest in these small impact companies that are partnering with local government to solve weather, water issue, electricity issue, waste issues, and so on. This is so very, very important. And again, if you're a teacher, partner your class with a neighboring school, whether in your country or in another country, to do a monthly video exchange or voice message exchange. I mean a shared knowledge sharing, and of course you can also take them for excursions. Ensure you are not supporting digital colonialism. Use and promote tech platforms that respect local data sovereignty in both Africa and Asia. So one data or digital platform should not just be solely for some countries or just restrictions everywhere. You're just literally colonizing the whole thing. No. Advocate for universal health coverage, UHC partnerships, support NGOs, private enterprises, or individuals that are helping developing nations or communities to build their own healthcare systems, rather than just sending short-term medicine or short-term aid that just cures them for 1 week or give someone a cure for 1 week. No, we should broaden our partnerships. Let what we are giving, let us be ensuring that it's lasting very long for them. Yes, we live in a generation that most people or NGOs now just want to impress, just want to have record, just want to say that they are doing this or doing that. they are not pressured, or they pressure themselves into just going to a small area, sharing something that will not even last a week for the receiver, for a day, and that is all. Yes, they are trying their best, but in a way, we need to correct that mentality in this 21st century. If we want to do something, or we want to do something, let's ensure that for some time, that impact stays in the heart, in the hand of those people. Let's say, for example, you start an NGO or a foundation. Genuinely, if your NGO or your foundation can, let me say, for example, you want to feed 500 persons in a day. If they can feed for 5 to 6 months, please do that. Continuous action than a one-time feeding that leaves them hungry the next day. This may not be the case for many, but it should be the case for some. Yes, probably you are getting funding or money, whether from your own company or that national or international governments or NGOs or enterprises. Please go ahead. There's more need for us to stick to the long-term mentality of impact and the short-term that just used to gather data and all that. You can also start to host some minutes of online training in your area of expertise, maybe design, coding, management, agriculture, fashion, and all of that, specifically for people in underdeserved regions or people who naturally their family or them themselves cannot afford knowledge like that, or an upgrade of knowledge like that. See, a lot of people want to learn, but there are limiting factors, or want to know more than they can. You can't just conclude, oh, there are knowledge available in the internet, so everyone should just go to the internet and search. And no, there are individuals that have made up their time to gain knowledge, whether by experience or by the work they do, or they have put together the most important factors or aspects of the knowledge that will help someone in greater ways than just searching through the internet. This sustainable development goals is available on the internet, but I can bet you that you hearing this right now today, you won't find it in much aspect as this, or both the feeling, both the will for you to actually go ahead and do your actions and all of that. It's just in a different way, totally packaged and put together for you to just go straight to the point, know what you're supposed to know, do what you're supposed to do. Partnerships for the goal is also about changing your mentality in that your room where you are planning your passion, documenting your goals and all of that. Start to incorporate partnerships, start to incorporate how you can partner with others on those goals. I don't mean you should go list below you or bring down your passion to a low level. No, I mean whatever level you are planning those your passions and writing those your goals, there are other levels of people or things in form of people or organizations or companies that you can say, oh, I want to work here to gain experience, I want to be close to this person that is known in this industry for this, and I want to see how one day me and this company can partner together, whether on a project or the industry that I am in or my passion directly. So it's very important that everything starts with the mind. So it's very important that you start to know it today, that you should not be alone on the journey. There's a better way where you can do it. It's one or two groups of people or companies or NGOs or even government houses themselves and get it done in greater ways. If you work in a company, suggest a partnership with a non-profit that also aligns with your industry. You can decide to ask your manager, do we know if our suppliers in other countries are being paid a fair wage? You can organize a weekend event where your tech team builds a simple team for a local charity or a community where there is limited or zero tech around there, or digital knowledge there, or even educate them. If your company has a pension fund, ask if it can be moved to a fund that specifically targets the sustainable development goals. It's very important that every company, organization, business, enterprise, individuals are incorporating these our sustainable development goals into one or two or even all their endeavors. It's very important. We cannot achieve these goals if we say it's none of our business, or if we shift it to other person or our neighbor. It won't cost us anything to just be sustainable about our activities, or whatever we are building, whatever we are making, or whatever we are even making our workers to work up their strength from 9 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. in the evening. Encourage your company to release into some of their funds or training into communities that need environmental solutions or food solutions or electricity solutions, or even if you're just specifically targeting what the industry or company is all about. Maybe they're into electricity distribution or so on and so on. Partner with a competitor in your industry to share a recycling facility or energy clean contract. We cannot always see our competitors as competitors. Sometimes it's very rare, but we could also try out partnering with companies or similar neighboring startups that we see as competition. It's possible. Anything is possible. You just have to think it through, come to the table and see where you go with it. Create a partnership in your office between the experts and the naive youths, or immature or amateur youths, So promoting intergenerational mentoring. This is very important. Our young generation, we need to learn from our elders, put their experience in that industry. Yes, we are free to make up new ways, new ideas. This is what this age is for. Our strength is almost like a lion's strength and even greater. But we still need the experiences of our older generations for the guidance or mentorship, because they have been through it all. Ask your CEO to sign the UN Global Compact, committing the business to the 10 principles of human rights and labor. It's time for us to stop doing businesses or doing startups that are against or that are not in line with the basic human rights and labor rules or laws. We should stop exploitation, and we should stop depriving people of the basic thing they should have. We should not look at food, something as food, as a privilege, but as a basic human right. Quality education, not a privilege, should be it is a basic human right. Everyone deserves to be educated, deserves to eat and have clean water. Invest in microloans directly with an entrepreneur in a developing nation. You are not just giving money, you are partnering with their successes. You can use platforms that are available for that. You can also use your years of experience to mentor a young leader from a different culture or background or different companies. So you must not always be looking at someone that speaks your language. Even if someone does not speak your language, we should find ways to communicate our experience to them, especially if they are willing to learn from you, knowing fully well that the both of you are from different cultures and does not really have the same belief, but maybe similar industry, or they need the knowledge that you have. Let's promise ourselves to build longer tables, not higher walls against each other. Longer tables should bring in more people, more experience, or more knowledge for collaboration, partnerships, and so on. Lobby for debt forgiveness, support campaigns that ask for debt for climate swaps for the world's poorest nations that are owing so much money. Your nation can decide, okay, we are clearing up this this debt and also helping you with your climate, or we are clearing up this debt and you help us with this indigenous knowledge that you have, local discovery that you have made, and so on. Ask for tax transparency, support laws that prevent multinational corporations from hiding their profits. They should not hide their profits. It should be as transparent as the medium scale enterprise that is being taxed even before they even know it. Or with the small business that is just starting up, the tax number has been placed on. What of those big multinational corporations that hiding how much they have made and still they are not being paid for it? So we have to realize that independence is just a myth. Interdependence should be our reality. You cannot be successful in a world that is failing. So let's promise ourselves to build bridges and not walls. Your awareness action gap towards Sustainable Development Goals 17, the partnerships for the goals, closes when you realize that the Sustainable Development Goals are not a to-do list for government. They are a co-creation list for humanity. Everyone's hand has to be on deck. Partnerships are the ultimate act of courage. It is a decision to stop trying to be the hero of the story and start being a member of the crew. We are more than 8 billion people on Earth, literally sharing a single one planet Earth. We don't have another backup planet. No matter how the scientists see it or how they vision it or their researches, I'm telling you that it will be very hard to move this planet Earth, to move everyone in this planet Earth, everything we have built, family, relationships, to another planet. So we have to take care of this one and only Earth that we have. We don't have another backup somewhere else. You have now grabbed the knowledge, discovered your role, now do your action. Because the only way we can make it to 2030 is if we hold the door open for each other. Remember, as it is talked about in Legacy 2 or Legacy 1, introducing our Sustainable Development Goal. And the reason why our Sustainable Development Goals are just as important as the food you put to your mouth is that these goals are that by 2030 we should be achieving them. But I want to tell you that even if 2030 goes by, you should always stand for sustainable development, because that is the way we can be sustained in this planet, both the people, both the animals, both the plants. So stay connected to the Legacy Podcast TLP to lead you through on how you can create a sustainable change. When you choose to listen, act and share this legacy, you are the engine that's making our sustainable development goal, partnership for the goals, more famous for action.